5-0 start, 2 rivalry wins already, and a top 2 ranking is giving the Miami Hurricanes ammunition on the recruiting trail. Here's where things stand with top targets and possible flips.
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I am Alex Donno, University of Miami alumnus, co-host of Locked On ACC, and host of Postgame on the Hurricanes radio network. And thank you so much to the everydayers for making Locked On Canes your first listen. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. On this loaded episode with our special guest, we're going to review Miami's rivalry win against Florida State and what stands out most about the Hurricanes. We're going to talk, since we're talking recruiting, guy who's been committed for a long time, but class of 2026 quarterback Dereon Coleman, who's off to a great start to his season at Jones High School in Orlando. Could he actually be ready to start year one at Miami next year? And yeah, we'll talk about top flip targets and recruits as we are joined by the man we call the recruiting overlord. He is the host of the Portal podcast on Locked On. He's also the host of Locked On Seminoles, so we will talk a little recap of Miami versus Florida State later on. But Brian Smith, I want to start on the recruiting trail. Syracuse obviously has had a tough run since Steve Angeli got hurt. And, Syracuse committed wide receiver Calvin Russell, Miami Northwestern. He's in Miami's backyard. There's been some smoke. He's made multiple visits to Miami already this season. I think Russell's feeling a little bit more love from the Miami staff than he was feeling at the time he committed to Syracuse. Do you think the Hurricanes are going to end up pulling off a flip of this blue chip wide receiver from a local powerhouse?
Only if Mario is open about him playing basketball.
Yeah. Well, which really means Jay Lucas also has to be open. Mario has to allow it, and Jay Lucas has to want it.
That situation, I don't blame Mario for it. It's very awkward. There isn't a college coach that wants it. I know that from talking to college coaches. But when an elite player wants to play both, you're kind of stuck. Yeah. J-Rock, the kid that's going to Florida State, he's going to play basketball allegedly at Florida State. But is he really? Yeah. That's hard. Yeah, there's a lot of different guys want to do this. But Syracuse made the biggest pitch, and I think early, which caught Calvin's attention. And good for them. He recently did an Instagram thing saying that, he was going to Syracuse. He did a picture with Fran and all that. Calvin posts all kinds of pictures, though. So some Syracuse writer said, this kind of shuts it down. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. He's a South Florida kid. Yeah. I don't buy that for 1 second. Yeah. We'll see what happens, but Miami's going to recruit him till the end.
Well, and talk about a little bit about his skill set. Calvin Russell, he's got the size profile that I know everybody really likes, including Miami. How's he been playing this year at Northwestern?
I love his film from last year, but seeing him in spring and watching him this year, he's gotten even stronger, and he's probably even a little twitchier. I think he's filling out a little bit. He still needs to add 20 pounds. He's a thin kid. He's making guys miss. He's 6'5". Most guys that size, they're pretty linear in how they run. I think that's a kid that's just getting better, and he's just scratching the surface. Wow. So his upside's pretty high. I don't know if he'll end up playing flanker or boundary, probably both, but his speed and his ability to make plays after the catch are pretty rare for a 6'5" kid.
Wow. I just want to add this to the Syracuse writer who thinks he's shut down his recruitment.
So ridiculous.
Calvin Russell and Malachi Tony are best friends. Like, they are really,
are they really?
Tight. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So he and Malachi are very close. So again, I'm not going to guarantee you that Calvin Russell flips to Miami, but
sure.
I have reasons to be confident that it very well could happen down the stretch. But he's not the only wide receiver that Miami's still after here in this class. One who's really gotten on my radar in recent weeks, 4-star wideout Milan Paris. 6'5.5". He's from Ohio, a powerhouse high school I know you're familiar with, Brian. He recently decommitted from Iowa State. Even before that decommitment, I know Miami was one of the teams pushing for a flip for him. And Milan Paris has said that Miami Oklahoma, who he recently visited. He's visiting Miami again later this month, though, for the I think it's for either the Stanford game or the Syracuse game, one of those two. And he's also interested in Oregon. So Miami, Oklahoma, Oregon. Where do you think Miami stands for Milan Paris?
Well, I think it'll end up being Oklahoma or Miami. I would think Miami's offense would be a pretty easy sell right now, and they need another big receiver. The only one they got's coming back after this year's the freshman, right? Like a true big receiver. So that shouldn't be a hard sell, and they're top 5 in the country. He didn't commit to Oklahoma on the visit, which I thought was a possibility. Yeah. And he fits the offense for anybody because, like, I wouldn't watch this film. That's a big kid. There aren't many guys that are in that size range, and he plays at Archbishop Hoban and Akron. It's been a really good program for 40 years. So I don't think that you're going to go wrong with him. I'm sure Miami will continue to go after him. Finding boundary receivers, man, it's hard. And Harris is one of those guys. So I'm kind of surprised Ohio State didn't throw their name in the hat. I'm being a local kid. That's a program they've always recruited. It's a little surprising.
Yeah, and he's not the only Midwestern target that Miami is after right now.
That's true.
There's an uncommitted tight end that Miami really likes. 3-star tight end Luke Brewer out of Norwalk, Iowa. Another really, really big kid, really, really big potential target. I assume he blocks well. Otherwise, Miami probably wouldn't be recruiting him. What can you tell us about Luke Brewer?
He's a kid that's reclassed, if I remember right. And reading up on him,
that's right.
Like, I'm like, where is this at in Iowa? Like, it's one of those towns I've never heard of. That's, it's a farm town somewhere in Iowa. He's destroying poor children out there on the field. It's, like, I don't have much interest in his film, but, the competition's not that great, but he's a really good athlete. Iowa's after him, which tells me something. Iowa State, those programs, no tight ends. So that's right. A good sign. And Miami doesn't recruit the state of Iowa for fun. You know what I mean? That's not – so he's got to be a guy. And they were after him for a long time. I don't know which person on the Miami staff got them involved, but that's a recruitment they've been building. Then the kid wanted to reclass. That just upped it. Miami is considered the favorite for him. So by everybody that's around like the Iowa State programs, that's a pretty good sign. I don't know what his timeline is, but you're right. He kind of fits the profile for what Cristobal really wants. Run first is their offense. There's no doubt. You got to have tight ends at block. But he's got the frame that quarterbacks are going to find inviting too. He's a big kid, pretty good athlete. Again, you can watch his film, but it's Norwalk, Iowa, wherever that's at. There are guys that make Alex look like the Jolly Green Giant out there. So,
and by the way, Miami very interested, of course, in Luke Brewer. They do have Izzy Briggs committed at tight end, and I think Brewer is someone who complements him well. They do want to take 2 tight ends in this class, so Israel Briggs is still very well locked in. But you made me think about somebody else, Brian, when you mentioned reclass, okay? The narrative seemed to change frequently with Kenton Dobson III from Miami Norland. So I think he's going to end up being a Miami Hurricane. He's been committed to Miami class of 2027. He is going to reclass to 2026. I don't think it's official yet. It might be, but that is happening. So for a hot second, Brian, it looked like Kenton Dobson was going to flip from Miami to North Carolina. But for anyone who's been paying attention, North Carolina's football program has been sinking faster than the Titanic. So I think we dodged a bullet when it comes to the UNC part of it, Brian. I mean, listen, you cover national recruiting. Like, what's it been like covering North Carolina this year and whatever Bill Belichick is trying to do on the trail?
I was just out for a walk the other day, and I won't name the podcast, but it was like a 5-minute montage on just throwing Bill Belichick under the bus. Somebody even said, like, name a worse Power 4 program. And it just made me chuckle, and I'm like, I'm not sure I can.
I can.
That should never be the case at UNC. Come on. So, like, I don't like to use the words fire sale, but I guarantee you Miami, Florida State, Georgia Tech, and everybody else in the South, they're going to be after UNC's recruits, and like Dobson's probably like, thanks.
Yeah.
But no,
the thing is, like, and Dobson's never been committed to North Carolina, but in terms of the players who actually are, like, I don't know how many of those players the Miamis and the Florida States even want, because they were just basically piling up a lot of lower ranked guys.
they got kids from all over Mississippi, Georgia, all over the place. And some of them I don't know a ton about.
Yeah.
But I'd have to think that regardless, they're going to lose some of those kids. Can you imagine a parent saying, yeah, we want our kid to go get developed there. Look at this. They've got 3 games in the Power 4 they've lost by more than 25. I mean, they could finish dead last in the Atlantic Coast Conference.
Yeah,
they're awful.
They could. They probably will. Well,
it's bad. It's bad.
Well, there's another, a few more possible flip targets that I want to talk about here with Brian Smith, including possibly the best edge rusher in the class, Anthony Tank Jones, who's committed to Oregon. Miami's still working on that one. And I want to talk about quarterback commit Dereon Coleman. You want to keep it locked right here, my friends. The recruiting overlord is with us, and we're only getting started on this brand new Locked On Canes. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, with more IIHS Top Safety Plus awards than anyone else. Guys, Mazda crafts cars for people who do more than simply move. From footwork to breath work, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings this same intention to how we craft every single model, guys. You can feel Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. And with all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every moment count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda. Move and be moved. We're also proudly brought to you by Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you've put off organizing your finances, we all have, right? Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. Guys, the categorization is huge because it made me realize how much I was overspending on certain things like streaming services and food delivery. Do not let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONCollege. Thank you for making Locked On Canes your first listen. We're joined by Brian Smith, host of The Portal. Make The Portal Pod your next listen. Transfer portal is going to become more clear, I think, in the coming months. Actually, you know, Brian, we have the new portal window. What is it going to be? Just 15 days now in January rather than the double spring and winter portal windows. And let me give you the floor on this one, because you gave me an off-air tease that you're going to have to pay on now on air in terms of someone Miami related to watch in the portal. Can you give our listeners the skinny?
Well, with the success they've had the last 2 years at the quarterback position, I guess they'll at least entertain the idea of taking another portal guy. And I don't know how much you've been paying attention to national stuff, but what a waste of talent Kansas State has with Avery Johnson.
Yeah.
I mean, he's really good, but they're awful. Yeah. I mean, they are terrible. I've got a pod coming up later today that I did last night. And you know what? I put it up this morning. Look, he threw for 340 and ran for 70 something, and they lost. Like, it's just, he is a freak. He was clocked at like upper 22s or 23 mile an hour. He's a quarterback. Like, he's the freakiest guy that's being wasted in college football. He's got 1 year left. Tennessee tried to get him this offseason. He was an Elite 11 guy. Notre Dame wanted him out of high school. They tried to flip him late from Kansas State. He's from that state. I wouldn't be surprised if him and several other guys, quite honestly, hit the portal. If Miami's not involved in that, I would be shocked. You got to at least kick the tires. That, to me, right now, he's the most likely big name quarterback to hit the portal. And what are they, 2-4? Can anybody blame Avery Johnson or anybody else from that roster if they leave? Like,
get the hell out of there.
I don't care where you go, just don't stay there. That's kind of how I would look at it. Like, if I was advising Avery, I would wager again. I think Miami will go portal. Maybe they won't. But that would certainly be a very great option.
Wow. So, all right. So, Locked On Canes everydayers, let us know in the comments if you think Avery Johnson could be an attractive option potentially in the transfer portal. We're going to talk a minute about someone who's coming in the class of 2026. But before we get to Dereon Coleman, a couple more flip targets, Brian, from Miami. What's the buzz on five-star edge Anthony Tank Jones? And listen, some of the other possible flip targets we talk about are on teams that are struggling or committed teams that are struggling. That's not the case for Tank, who's committed to Oregon. Oregon is doing just fine right now. So,
Right.
He's from an area you cover a lot in recruiting, Mobile, Alabama. So you're very familiar with this player. Could it just be maybe at the end of the day he wants to stay in the Southeast, doesn't want to go out to Eugene? What's going on there?
I think he's covering all his bases. I'm sure NIL is a part of it, but he's a Mobile kid. He's pretty laid back. I think he kind of fits the South better. He's pretty subdued, but he's been to, correct me if I'm wrong, he's been down to UM more than once. Isn't that correct?
At least twice. At least two game day visits already.
And here's the more important thing. I always say follow the visits. Well, it's not just the player visiting. During their off week, Oregon's head coach Dan Lanning went to visit him. Do you think he would drive out to the airport and fly across the country if it wasn't important? They think it's a possibility they could lose it. That told me more than anything else. And I can get all kinds of stuff
during Miami's first off week, Jason Taylor went out to Mobile and visited him. So it's happening multiple different fronts.
Yeah, I would say Miami's a threat. Dan's not going to – nobody wants to fly from Eugene to Mobile. Okay, that's not a fun flight. That's a long way, brother. That's 5.5 hours. That's a long way. So I would imagine that that's tenuous at best for the Ducks.
You hearing anything about some of these Texas commits? And obviously, listen, Texas, no matter what's happening this year, it's a great program, and they've got a ton of NIL money and everything. Obviously, their quarterback is struggling. But Miami fans are always curious about Derek Cooper, South Florida kid, standout Chaminade running back who's committed to Texas. James Johnson, 5-star defensive tackle who now plays high school ball in South Florida, committed there. You hearing anything about possible flips, or you think Texas holds on to these guys?
It's going to go one of two ways. I mean, the money for either Miami, just to use them as an example, or Texas, you're going to make a bunch of money either way. Yeah. But Texas, this is so weird. They're thin at running back. They can't keep anybody healthy. He's got a chance to play early there, which is so weird because they've recruited the spot well, but they can't keep anybody healthy. And on top of that, the money's good. They've treated him well. But on the other side of it, you get to stay home at Miami. I assume, I don't know, you tell me, Fletcher will probably leave after this year, don't you think? I would think Fletcher, he'll at least. It's iffy, but I think he could play. Maybe it's not as easy to play, but he could play in some capacity.
And for running backs, I mean, I'd prefer he stays, believe me. But for running backs, when you're eligible, that at that position, it's usually advisable to leave. But Miami still, they would have Marty Brown will have to be back next year. Jordan Lyle, Gerard Pringle will be back. Javion Mallory is coming in. So Miami's going to, even if they lose Fletcher, Miami's going to be loaded in the backfield next year.
Yeah. I just think that Derek could help them in a lot of ways, especially in the passing game. And he's a big kid. He can pass pro. I don't think he's worried about playing time, but this is weird to say. It's probably easier at Texas, which might be the biggest detriment for the Canes, but it's still closer to home, closer to his mom, who he's tight with. I think there's a better chance he ends up at Miami than you do, I think. But
I'm a little pessimistic on that one, but I hope you're right.
I don't know. It's October, so there's still a long way to go. As it gets closer to signing day, we'll find out if he's got cold feet about leaving home.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's up to Derek. Yeah. But I could see him flipping to Miami. I don't think he'll go to Florida State because that's still all the way in the northern part of the state. Tallahassee's a long way from South Florida. That's 7 hours, 8 hours. That's a long way. So I highly doubt that's where he'll end up. It's going to be Miami or it's going to be the University of Texas.
All right, so let's go to the quarterback position at Miami. Obviously, Carson Beck is gone next year. You brought up the possibility of Miami going back into the transfer portal. I definitely wouldn't rule that out. Otherwise, got Emory Williams back next year. Luke Nickel is going to be heading into his second year. And Dereon Coleman, who's been sensational at Jones High School in Orlando, is going to be coming in as a true freshman. Now, I know our mutual friend, Balin Trujillo, who is his private quarterbacks coach, like he's, said Dereon is the best arm talent he has ever worked with. He is super bullish on Dereon, as are we. But is there actually a possibility, Brian, that Dereon could even be a year one start? I think he's going to be a future Miami Hurricanes starting quarterback. Do you think that could even happen for him year one?
If Mario Cristobal is the head coach somewhere and he starts a true freshman, they're going to need some kind of defibrillator for me because I'm going to keel over. Mario is the most conservative head coach in college football. He is not going to start a freshman. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. Right. I'm just saying that's Mario's mentality. He is the ultimate old school coach. It's not going to happen. It'll be Emory or it'll be a transfer. Prove me wrong. And I'm not saying I agree with that. Again, that's just he wants a guy that's going to do what they want, cookie cutter, and move forward. Again, prove me wrong. And I like Luke. I know him well. I know Dereon well. They're both really good. But he does not tend to play younger guys at the quarterback position. And I don't really blame him. Go look at the national stats. The guys top 50 in any passing stat, almost all of them are in year 3 or more. It's an experience position. So it's like 85, 90% of the top guys.
And I'll tell you, look not only at Miami, but nationally, so many of the top quarterbacks in the country the last few years have been guys playing at their, second or third school. It's been transfers. Like there's been so many successful transfer quarterbacks.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like even the Sorsby kid at Cincinnati, he was always just a guy. And this year, all of a sudden, Cincinnati's got a chance to make the Big 12 championship game. Cincinnati. Yeah. I mean, he's like a 60-year senior. It's experience, man. It just matters.
All right, so even if Dereon doesn't make the year one true freshman start, I think we both agree he's going to be someone for the future at 100%. Miami. And he's been balling out his senior year so far at Jones and Orlando. Talk a little bit, your experience covering Dereon Coleman, what makes him stand out to you?
First thing about him is he's a very respectful young man. And like when you walk up to him, like I'll just give an example. Last year I was at one of the 7-on-7 tournaments and there was just an elite group of guys out there. He could point to anybody on the field and tell you like how to attack them, who, what, when, where, why, how. He thinks the game like a 30-year-old. And it's really odd for a teenager to be that way. Like between the ears, Dereon's a little bit different. He sees things before they happen. He doesn't get too high, too low. No matter what he does on the last throw, the next one he stays even keel. Like he's what you're looking for mentally in a quarterback. Like those guys that are just super hyper, I don't want them at QB. Like Dereon is the even keel. And then you talk about just the physical traits. He's very mobile. Doesn't like to run. He'd rather throw, but he can. He'll go get you 10 yards. And his arm talent that Balin was just describing, it's pretty simple. His release is insanely fast. I think the best release I ever saw was a Dolphin, Dan Marino. Like he had the quickest release I think I've ever seen. I don't know if it's Dan speed, but it's really quick. And he can throw from so many different angles. And he's just getting more and more accurate. He'll throw sidearm with a guy coming at him and he's on the run and he'll put it on a dot as the guy tip taps out of bounds. Like those are NFL throws. And he was making those as a junior in high school. So, yeah, I understand why Balin and so many other people are very high on Dereon Coleman because it's deserved. But, again, it starts between the ears. He sees things that other guys don't, and then you can accentuate the arm talent. He's a really special talent.
Well, coming up next, I want to get Brian Smith's take on what he saw from the Miami Hurricanes against the Florida State Seminoles this past weekend and how far can Miami go when we're talking about possible postseason, possible ACC championship game. You want to keep it locked right here. We're not done yet on Locked On Canes. Folks, I have been playing PrizePicks for, what am I on, year 5 now with PrizePicks? 2021 is when I started on this app, and I have been hooked ever since. Every day we make decisions, but on PrizePicks, being right can actually get you paid. Do not miss the excitement this football season with PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. Playing PrizePicks is so much fun. It's a simple way to add more excitement to football. You just pick more or less on player projections like Josh Allen's passing yards or Saquon Barkley's rushing yards, and you're in the game. Guys, I love how quick it is. You can make your lineup in under a minute. My favorite part, PrizePicks just added stacks. So if I want to ride with a player, I can select Their pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns all in one lineup. And the new injury reboot feature, if your player leaves early and doesn't return, it won't count against you. Download the PrizePicks app today and use our code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege. It's all one word, LOCKEDONCollege, for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Thank you for making Locked On Canes your first listen. Make sure you check out all of Brian Smith's work on Locked On Seminoles and on the Portal Pod. All right, so Brian, what were your big takeaways from Miami in that matchup against Florida State this past weekend? What stood out to you from the Hurricane side?
First off, let's give credit to Carson Beck. I want to say 2 out of his 3 deep shots were about as good a throws as you could have. He missed, I think, the first one, but it wasn't like it was far off. So when you get those opportunities, as to say, you got to strike while the iron's hot, and he did. So that's first, because Miami, I'm sure they knew this, Florida State was going to crowd the line, and Miami didn't run the ball very well.
No, they
didn't. That's because Florida State overcompensated. And then it came down to one-on-ones, which Miami's secondary just laid an egg, or Florida State secondary just laid an egg. Malachi was just one of the guys. There were other guys open too. Florida State was overwhelmed in the second, which I did not see coming at all. They played terrible, and Miami absolutely destroyed them. So hats off to them. The other thing that I thought was interesting, even when Miami would have a bad series offensively, again, kind of like I was just talking about with Dereon, they stayed even keel. This is a mature team. You know, you have a 3-and-out. It happens. Some teams will go into dumpster. They fail in those moments when the crowd gets up. They didn't phase Miami. To me, that was probably the biggest takeaway. They're not a team that's going to wilt in the moment. They may lose a game at some point or whatever, but they're a team that's here for the long haul. They have a chance to go all the way because quarterback sound, run game's obviously good. I think getting Weil back truly healthy, I don't think he's healthy from seeing him. He's got more to offer. I think he's their most talented running back, to be honest with you. And on top of that, you're just seeing the beginning of what Malachi can do. And as the other guys with Carson, you know, it's just reps. They're going to get better. And I'm just going to say it. We talked about this last week. Another week where we heard JoJo was going to play, and we can't trust any Miami recruiting or injury reports. Is JoJo alive? Can somebody send me a picture of JoJo?
Yeah, well, I've gotten 2 different perspectives on what's going on there, and here's what I think I can say, being fair to the situation. So he missed some time, and during that time that he missed, he got passed on the depth chart. I think Tony Johnson is primarily the guy who kind of worked into his spot when JoJo was unavailable, and he's working his way back in. I think he lost his spot while he was out, and he's trying to work his way back in is the best way I can describe it.
Well, I hope for him that it works out. JoJo was a fun guy to cover during his days in high school at Chaminade and in the 7-on-7 with South Florida Express. But if he gets back in the mix, and I'm not picking on Tony Johnson, but I'll go with JoJo if he figures it out. That would give you 2 guys that are dynamic after the catch. Because Malachi, obviously, he's already, in my opinion, one of the best players in college football. Because he just has a knack once he has the ball. Like he got screwed on that other touchdown because it got called back. That was a goofy penalty. That's not his fault.
Yeah, right.
He's as good a slot receiver as there is in the country already. Name somebody better. So if they can put somebody outside of him that makes guys miss, and like JoJo has some of the most incredible hands I've ever seen. Like it's insane. So if he can get back into the mix, that gives Miami another chance. The only thing they'll add defensively, we knew Bain and those guys would do well. Florida State lost the right tackle during the game. That did not help. They moved a guard out there and he got annihilated. But they were not able to really tackle Miami the way I thought they would. Every time, and even though Miami didn't run the ball great, but they were going against negative odds with how many guys were in the box. They always fell forward. I don't know what they're doing in Miami's strength program, but right now I would imagine Miami's is better than Florida State's.
Yeah, Coach Irv is doing a good job. And also it doesn't hurt that Mark Fletcher is 225 pounds and Marty Brown is 220. So that helps you fall forward a little bit. Brian, who do you think is the second best team in the ACC? Like it might even be Florida State, but they're probably not going to get to the ACC championship game because of the 2 losses now. Clemson's got 2 ACC losses. Like, as wacky as this is, ESPN's percentage odds actually have Duke as the second most likely team to win the ACC right now. I'd probably give the nod to Georgia Tech, though, if I had to.
Who did Duke lose to in the ACC?
Nobody in the ACC. They've only lost non-conference. They lost to Tulane and
That's
they lost
right.
to Illinois.
They've got a quarterback that can throw. And the other thing, Georgia Tech, and you don't want to saying this out loud, do you really believe Haynes King is going to go through the whole season without missing a game because of injury?
It's never
I don't.
happened. No, yeah.
That's what I mean. And it's just his style of play. Mintz is an NFL quarterback in waiting. He's got to play another year before he can do that. And he doesn't run as much. So I don't think Duke has a chance in hell against Miami's offense because they don't have enough defensive players, but they'll score. You know, if Miami had a really off game, I guess they could give them a game. But Georgia Tech's got the better style to play against Miami because they can grind it out and shorten the game. I would still lean Tech because I don't trust Duke's defense, but yeah, it is what it is. To be honest, there really isn't a number 2. One of those teams is going to get into the playoff possibly, probably get murdered. But I mean, Miami, like, by the way, if it's Georgia Tech, that would be the week after Georgia Tech plays Georgia.
Yeah.
Advantage Miami because they will be beat till a pulp. They will.
Right. And that's even if they find a way to win the game. They played in 8 overtimes last year. Win or lose, they will get beaten up.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's not who you want to play, then turn around and play Miami. So good luck to Georgia Tech if they make it to the ACC title game.
Yeah, well, we appreciate Brian Smith's time as always. Make sure you follow him on X at FBScout_Florida. Check him out on the portal. Check him out on Locked On Seminoles. And we'll talk to everyone next time on another episode of Locked On Canes. We are part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.